Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Clayton Cummins in for Sarah. We could know as early as tomorrow if Michigan will have stricter voter identification laws. It's one of the bills lawmakers are trying to push through with just 3 days left in the legislative session. Fox 47's Susan El Khoury explains how the proposed changes could make it harder for voters who forget or don't have their ID on Election Day.
If you want your vote to count, you better have the ID to prove who you are.
Do I think it's reasonable to ask for an ID? My goodness, everybody has to have an ID to live in our society.
That's what would happen under a Republican-backed bill requiring voters to show a picture ID when they go to the polls.
You have to have a license or a Michigan ID for everything nowadays. Cashing a check, a young person entering a bar, applying for a job. So to say that there's this segment of our population that doesn't have an ID makes no sense at all.
The way it works now, registered voters who forget or don't have ID can sign an affidavit saying they are who they say they are, then they can cast their ballot. But this bill changes that, so voters who sign an affidavit have 10 days to show ID to their local clerk or their vote will not count.
They're trying to make it harder for people to vote, and I just don't think that's right.
State Democrats call it a backward move that targets voters who are homeless or are minorities and can face challenges getting ID.
What we should be more concerned about is the democratic process and making people that everyone has their right to actually be able to go vote.
If the bill passes, it would also make birth certificates and state IDs free for people who can't afford them. But Democrats say those provisions aren't enough.
I think that upgrading our election equipment would be very important, making sure that they're not possibly to be hacked.
But Senator Jones says this law is part of that process, helping ensure the integrity of each vote.
This would block any potential fraud of somebody voting multiple times or somebody voting for a dead person. I think it's very reasonable.
In Lansing, Susan El Khoury, Fox 47 News.
Now, in the November election, 18,000 voters used an affidavit to cast their ballot. Less than 1% of the ballots cast. Senator leaders have not announced when the bills will be up for a vote, but last week the House passed the bills mainly on party lines. They're now on the Senate floor, where Democrats are concerned the Republican majority means there will be enough support to push these through. We'll let you know as soon as that happens and is where that bill moves through the Capitol.